It is early in the week. We're recording this on a Monday morning. You are hearing it on a Tuesday. We are College Sports Now. I'm Stephen Hartzell. We have Roddy Jones with us from the ACC Network. Michael Serber is hanging out as well. You can also watch this if you're so inclined. We have a YouTube channel. Actually, we don't have a YouTube channel. We're on someone else's YouTube channel. Serber, I probably am not explaining this properly, but if you wanted to watch the show, Varsity Network has a YouTube channel. This podcast lives on that channel. So check it out. Varsity Network on YouTube. There you go. Did I do that right? Is that good?
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Excellent.
We
All right.
actually got there.
Folks, week 11 is in the books. College football got into the liquor cabinet pretty early on Saturday. I mean, it was...
I'll tell you who got in the liquor cabinet. Rod Stradamus got in the liquor cabinet. I'm back, baby!
We're 2 minutes into the show. We're 2 minutes into the show. Roddy had a good week. He we call him Rod Stradamus because he's supposed to be a fortune teller. Like, he's supposed to be able to see the future. Well, he did that on Saturday. 5-1, buddy. 5-1. Welcome back. How's it feel?
Back. It feels good, man. And let me tell you, Oklahoma sucks. They're dead to me right now. They were all that was between me and a 6-0 week. But Tusk coming through. All the rest of them, easy money. Although Minnesota almost screwed me. Yeah. Actually, Iowa almost screwed me. When the hell? Iowa? Get out of here. But anyway.
Michigan was a little sweaty for you.
Michigan was never sweaty. It was in the bag. It was in the bag, man. In the bag.
Arkansas won in overtime. That was sweaty, man. That was not an easy dub.
Check plus.
But I like that you rode with me on Tusk. It's about
Tusk.
time.
He's back. Tusk is back.
Arkansas's got 7 wins this year. That's
and how many of them have come in the last month?
2.
1.
They beat somebody a couple weeks. No. Well, that's right. We just started a new month. I forgot.
Weren't
it all blends. No,
they're 6-0 and they're 7-5.
They were 4-0. They were 4-0.
Okay.
Still,
right.
They're overachieving. There's a couple of SEC programs that picked up some bad losses over the weekend. We'll get to that. But we got to start in the Big 12, Roddy. I mean, listen, you mentioned Oklahoma. They are dead to you. They were dead on Saturday. Listen, this is me. I'm not scheme guy. I'm not an analyst. Roddy, that's what they pay you the big bucks for. I thought Dave Aranda took Lincoln Riley to school on Saturday afternoon.
To the woodshed.
Final score was 27-14. That's not indicative of what happened.
Yeah.
It was 24-7 with 2 minutes to go. Oklahoma got waxed. They couldn't do anything.
No, they couldn't. And I think your point on Dave Aranda, look, we forgot that Dave Aranda was one of the best, not only defensive coordinators in the country, but I think he's proving himself to be one of the most self-aware head coaches in the country. The adjustments that he made after year 1 to year 2, the way that he has adjusted to coaching this Baylor team, and he got in a pandemic year. It's almost a year 0, and this team has been great this year. Gary Bohannon was fantastic during the game, or was good enough during the game. He wasn't fantastic. He made plays when he needed to. But overall, Baylor's ability to confuse this Oklahoma offense that, quite honestly, I've been defending, especially since Caleb Williams came in. But I think we've seen that Caleb Williams is susceptible to bad streaks. Is that fair? Like, to being completely baffled at times. Kansas in the first half, he couldn't do anything, and this game looked like the entire first half of Kansas. Threw a couple of picks, and one of them was really bad, but eventually got benched for Spencer Rattler. Like, how about that coming full circle?
Yeah, listen, lowest yardage output of the Lincoln Riley era. 260 total yards of offense. By the way, 75 of those yards came on a drive when it was 24-7 in the final 2 minutes. So Dave Aranda, Baylor's defense, locks down the Sooners, and now you've got a Big 12 conference where, I mean, Roddy, listen, we'll talk playoff a little bit later, but, I mean, this closes the book on the Big 12, does it not?
No, I don't think so.
What?
I don't think so.
Who's going?
I don't think so. I think Oklahoma State still got a shot.
They're going to have to beat Oklahoma twice, man. I don't see that happening.
Did you see what just happened? Baylor doesn't have the best defense in the Big 12. You know who does?
Yeah, them Pokes.
Oklahoma State. So what makes you think Oklahoma can score points?
Well, I mean,
Oklahoma State
points. Oklahoma State played a corpse on Saturday. I mean, they played a lifeless
body. No, I'm not talking about them on Saturday. I'm talking about them for the entire season.
Yeah. Speaking of corpses.
Hey, real quick.
Go ahead, Serbs. Go ahead.
Quick correction. The name of the game is, in fact, football. I just wanted to clear that up. Roddy, don't spread misinformation. on this fine podcast.
It's not
across
scoring
multiple
points?
platforms. The name of the game is, in fact, American football. Continue.
There's a lot of misinformation out there.
From the
So,
top rope roasted.
speaking of corpses, let's check in on
exaggeration. By the way, Oklahoma's won 6 straight in that rivalry, and
feels like 16 straight in that rivalry.
well, since 2003, Oklahoma State's only won twice.
Yeah, that reminds me of
So
another.
do
That
you
reminds me of
expect
another
Oklahoma State to win
rivalry we get Thanksgiving week up in the Big Ten.
The
Michigan.
hell did
Ohio
I do to
State.
you this morning? What? Like, what the hell? What are you doing? You're just coming off the top rope?
You talking to me?
Yes.
I'm having a day. I mean, Serber's in a good mood today. He's
I didn't
picking
do
me up.
anything to
It's
you,
the
and
opposite.
You over here.
Yeah.
It's the
This
opposite
reminds
of
me
where we
another
were last
rivalry
week.
you get on Thanksgiving weekend. Blah, 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 blah.
I was referring to Michigan, Ohio State, not clean old-fashioned hate.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean that too.
I'm sensitive, man. You don't start talking about that game.
Yeah, you are sensitive.
It's coming up. You triggered me.
Sensitive guy.
Well, this time of year is a tough time for a Tech fan. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
I am living in Atlanta, and the arch rival that dominates the talk at all times in this town is the #1 team in the country, and they look unstoppable. And I am staring in the face a trip to South Bend and then coming home. I'm using air quotes unless you're on the YouTube channel. You can see it. Coming home to Bobby Dodd Stadium, where there will be so many red people in the stands, and by red people I mean people wearing red, that it's going to feel like an away game.
Why are you
And
whispering?
I'm not sure, Georgia, because I don't want the Tech fans to hear me. I'm not sure they're going to score. I'm not sure they're going to score 3 points in that game. I'm really not. I think if I set the over-under on number of points scored at 10.5, it'd be a hammer the under. If I set it at 6.5, what are you doing there, Steven?
Under.
He's hammering the under.
Yeah.
So I don't want Tech fans to get mad at me, but I'm triggered this time of year. I really am by you talking about one-sided rivalries.
Let the record show Rostradamus took Boston College against his alma mater last week and cashed.
And
cashed.
Self-awareness is one of the best awarenesses you can have.
I do want to talk about Georgia because they did something on Saturday that I wanted to see them
Wait,
actually
I want to
do.
continue on the Big 12 conversation.
Yeah, no,
just
we'll
real quick.
get there. No, we'll get to the dogs. But go ahead, Big 12.
Well, so I think Oklahoma State still has a shot. Now
They do.
They obviously have to win out, and then they'd have to jump a number of people. But the cannibalization of the Big 10 East is has started to happen and will continue to happen. They'd have to jump Notre Dame. They'd have to obviously jump Cincinnati. But I think a one-loss conference champion will jump Cincinnati, who actually looked decent on Friday. I would say it's hard. It's hard to give more compliments.
Not
than
to me,
that
they
when it's
didn't.
South Florida.
Not to me, they didn't.
They didn't look decent to you?
They looked fine in the first half, but if you can't score from the 1 against USF and then you give up a 99-yard drive
Did
to
you
the
watch the Tulsa
aforementioned
game?
USF. Yeah, no,
Did
listen.
you watch the Tulsa game?
Listen, I'm just telling you, man. Like, I'm at a place with Cincinnati. I know we're bouncing around here. We're trying to talk Big 12 football, and we'll get it back on the tracks. But I'm at a place with Cincinnati, Roddy, where I don't like the narrative needs to stop.
Is this new? Did we talk about this last week?
This is new for me because I've been promoting Cincinnati.
Steven, welcome to the common sense
I
side
know.
of the argument.
Yes.
You're
Well,
not one of these bleeding hearts.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
done.
gosh. If I hear more people talk, Cincinnati deserves it. What would we say about Alabama if they had the 4 results that Cincinnati just had?
Well, it's different for me there. I mean,
Why?
Because
You're comparing them to Alabama.
Alabama's got great players. They've got great coaches.
And so we give Cincinnati a pass because they don't have that? Then they don't deserve to be in.
Listen,
You're comparing Cincinnati to Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State. Like, that's the class. We're not comparing them to Marshall or UTSA.
Respect the Roadrunners. Still undefeated.
I respect them, but nobody cares about what UTSA is doing.
Listen, I like Dan Horde. We've had him on the show. He's the radio voice of the Bearcats. I can't keep stumping for that program when they don't go out.
It's good to have
and
some company.
Yeah, listen.
I've been on this train for like 2 months.
I know. Well, scoot over. All right, make some room because
You got it.
I'm with you. I'm riding with you.
I actually thought they looked decent in the first half. I'm not going to be honest. I didn't really watch much of the second half. I did see the final score, and I was like, did they just completely shut it down or what? But whatever.
Yeah,
I had to go to the Clemson basketball game.
I saw that. How was Little John? Was it rowdy?
It was pretty cool. It was, they were playing Wofford, a little tight in there down the stretch. So,
Yeah,
a little tight.
Yeah, it's a big game. Big game. Serber, are you locked into hoops yet or no?
Not really. I mean, UCLA Villanova was pretty cool though, right?
Well, since the last time we spoke, which was Monday of last week, like college basketball season is in full effect. So that's happening. This show will pivot eventually to college basketball. We'll get our man Matt Norlander from CBS Sports back in the mix. But for now, we ride with football.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Anyway, the Big 12 conversation. Like, so now you have Oklahoma, Oklahoma State both have one loss in the conference. Baylor's the only one that's close. And what's the scenario for Baylor to get in? They've got the win over Oklahoma, so they just need Oklahoma to lose one more game, correct?
Yeah.
And that game could be to Oklahoma State at the end of the year. So if Baylor beats Kansas State and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, then you'd have Baylor, Oklahoma State in the championship game in a rematch of the game that we saw earlier this year where Oklahoma State won. I actually think that's the best scenario for Oklahoma State to get in the college football playoff, because then you get an ascending Baylor team that you're playing in the Big 12 championship game instead of a team in Oklahoma that the committee has basically, like, you know, we talked about Cincinnati a little bit earlier. And we'll continue to talk about it. But that Notre Dame win, I think, is what was buoying Cincinnati, and the Bleeding Hearts were buoying Cincinnati in that top 5. Because Oklahoma was undefeated, and the committee treated them like they were nothing. Like, they didn't care about Oklahoma at all. Turns out they were kind of right. And so 2 wins over Oklahoma, I don't think gets Oklahoma State there necessarily. Because if you where do you think Oklahoma is going to be this week? Probably in the mid-teens.
Yeah,
I think they're down to 20.
No. They'll probably be like, I mean, off the top of my head, I'd probably say that they're going to be where Baylor was last week, which was like 13-ish.
Right. So let's say Oklahoma State beats the number 12 team in Bedlam, and then they would drop to like 17, 18. That's if Oklahoma – who's Oklahoma have this week? Like, that's another question. Like, are they going to win out? Because they got Iowa State. Yeah. Well, golly. What the hell's going on with Iowa State, man?
I mean, they're your Cyclones, Roddy. You tell me.
I liked Iowa State a lot coming into this year.
I know you did.
I really did.
I know you did.
I don't know. I don't know where we missed. Well, we missed a lot of places. I don't know how we missed. Is that an us thing or is that a them thing?
I mean, Iowa State is 6-4. They were a preseason top 10 team, right? Mm-hmm. And they had everybody back. This was the best Iowa State team
top 5, I think,
ever. And they're 6-4. Now, those losses, if you put them under a microscope, have been by a very small margin. But still, 6-4.
You know
unranked.
What you get when you put a loss under a microscope?
By the way, they lost. You
get a bigger loss, Steven. You just magnify that loss.
That's true. It is magnified, but they're still by small margins. They lost by a 62-yard field goal at the death in Lubbock.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, you want to talk about
Lubbock
ways
at elevation?
Not that I'm aware of. I think West Texas is pretty flat. I could be wrong,
yeah.
But
so I mean, yeah,
if you want to talk about ways to, like, not all losses are created equal, but you want to like a demoralizing loss.
The elevation of Lubbock is 3,000 feet above sea level.
Oh, there you go.
I'd see, yeah.
62 yards. And I'm gonna get the kid's name right, because if you make a 62-yarder to beat somebody, you deserve to be mentioned on CSN. Jonathan Garibay, onions,
Yeah.
baby.
Dude, that was a bomb too.
It was still rising. I think it would have been good from 80.
It was a bomb. Yeah, it was a tough deal for Iowa State. Like, and here's the other thing. As weird as Iowa State's been this year, and they have been, I think, overall, the offense has been the disappointing unit. Defensively, they've been pretty good this year, with the exception, really, of last week, because they gave up a ton of yards and points last week. But this is one of the better defensive units in the Big 12. Coming into the game, they were number 2. I don't know if they're still there. But overall, like, that's another one where, hey, okay, do you start – first off, who does Oklahoma start? And if they start Spencer Rattler, where is he at? Because they were not a good offense when he was in there earlier this year. And if you start Caleb Williams, this is the unit that most of the country has built their 3-3-5 defense off of. So can you take on that team and have success when you did not have any success against a Dave Aranda defense. John Haycock's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Like, I don't know, man. The Big 12's bananas.
Yeah, it was definitely a wild weekend, and we haven't even talked about what happened in Austin. You know, the state school there in Texas.
Should we talk about that?
The mighty UT Austin. Listen, they got Kansas over the weekend, man.
No, whoa. You say they got Kansas as if that's a thing. If that is a thing, it has just become a thing this weekend.
You lose
because Kansas hadn't won on the road in the Big 12 since 2008.
You lose to Kansas, you deserve to be front and center in terms of like a storyline, and not in a good way. Kansas beat Texas and Austin for the first time in program history. Kansas was a 30-point underdog on the road in Austin. This was a Texas team that had lost 4 in a row. Now it's 5. Texas has lost 5 in a row. This is uncharted territory for that program. Am I calling for Steve Sarkisian to be fired? No, I'm not. But clearly things are in a really, really bad place. That's the nicest way I can put it.
Let me just say they could fire him, but he's owed like 20-something.
No, he's not. Look, he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's like 9 games, 10 games into his into his Texas career.
And you know what gets you fired 9 games into your Texas career?
Yeah, losing
to Kansas at home. That being said, I think the shocking thing is this team they were down 35-14 at halftime. And then in the second half, you storm back and you think, all right, Texas is going to be fine. They're going to storm back. They're going to take the lead. And they didn't even tie the ball game up until, the last drive? Right? Like, this thing should have been done in regulation.
Yeah, Kansas was hanging on. Like, the lead just kept getting, kind of chipped away at. Yeah.
Right, but it's 40, what was it, 49-42? Sorry, I'm looking it up. Yeah, it's 49-42 late in the game, and Kansas has a terrible punt. You get a pretty decent return. Like, without that, does Texas score? Because they got the ball back with 44 seconds left. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I thought Lance Leipold's decision to go for it in overtime, the freshman kid for Kansas, the quarterback, did an excellent, excellent job. Jalen Daniels, who's supposed to be the third stringer. I mean, you talk about onions. That dude had onions with the scramble, the throw in overtime. And Texas, a team that we were asking ourselves, okay, how close is Texas to contending in the Big 12 going into the Red River rivalry? Like, they have let Oklahoma beat them not once, not twice, but 5 times. It's ridiculous, man. And
you're
they
right.
haven't been able to recover. And they're in danger of not making a bowl game.
I mean, bowl games are great. Bowl games are great because you want the extra practice, right? You got a young team, like you want those extra practices. That's what this comes down to.
You also don't want the stigma of not being a bowl team. Like, that is a stigma that the University of Texas should never have to contend with.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, look, it's certainly been a humbling stretch here for Longhorns fans, right? Like, what you realize if you're, for me as like a sports, I'm just a fan. Like, I didn't play. I didn't have my hand in the dirt like Hot Rod did. But, clearly winning is not just a given. Even if you are mighty Texas, like at some point, like,
or even if you do have a lead in the second half.
Yeah, or multiple.
This one they didn't.
Or multiple.
Yeah, what was it, 4 straight they lost with second half leads, and like 3 of them were like double-digit leads?
Yeah, it's definitely been a rough patch. I could look and see who Texas has the rest of the way, but what are they sitting there?
They have West
5
Virginia
wins in Morgantown.
Yeah. They're 4-6. West Virginia in Morgantown and Kansas State. And the thing is, when you lose to Kansas, every game looks losable. Every game.
And, I mean, look, there's jokes to be had here because Texas is doing what they're doing to the Big 12, which is leaving and going to the SEC.
They're going to the SEC.
Where they're going to,
get waxed.
They're going to have their hands full.
I have a serious question for you, and this is just kind of funny to ask. Like, where would Texas be if they were in the SEC right now? Let's put them in the SEC East. Like, who are they better than?
Vandy.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Maybe South
Probably
Carolina.
Florida at this point.
I'm not ready to go there yet. Maybe South Carolina. Maybe Missouri.
Florida. No. South Carolina is better than Florida.
Well, head-to-head, yeah.
Yes, they played that game.
Yeah,
Although if I was the committee, maybe I wouldn't count that.
Florida has Missouri on Saturday, and as somebody who has Gator tendencies, I'm very worried about how that goes as well. So yeah, Florida's in a dark place, but yeah, listen, if you've got a 16-team SEC, Texas this year's probably in that 13 or 14 range. Like, they're not good at football.
No, they're not.
They're in a bad way.
They're not.
They're in a really bad way.
And the thing that's going to stink for Texas if they don't significantly improve, and they got a couple years at least before they have to do this. But like where Texas is right now, what happens if they go to that league and you get Georgia, Alabama, Florida, well, not Florida this year, but let's say Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, and LSU all in the same year, and those are your quote-unquote peers, and the combined score is like 200-12.
Well, that's. I don't think it's going to get to that point. That's what it would have been this year. I don't think it's going to get to that point. All right.
You say that, but we didn't think it would get to this point. They just lost to Kansas, bro.
Yeah. In fairness to Texas, other than the blowout in Ames, like, they haven't been getting blown off the field. They're just losing games that they have no business losing.
Because they have giant leads,
yeah,
and they've been giving them up.
Yeah.
So, look, Texas is a weird one because I think if you consider the games, the segments of the games that we've seen them, you look at the final score and you're like, okay, they're not getting beat that badly. And then you look at the segments of the games where they are blowing out teams and then getting blown out, blowing out teams and then getting blown out. Like, that sort of ebb and flow is something that certainly needs to be corrected from year 1 to year 2 of Steve Sarkisian's tenure, because that's a sign to me of an unstable program emotionally. Like, you got to be able to steady the ship and ride. And, like, everyone goes to Nick Saban, and he has better players, so, like, it's hard to sort of compare those two. But, like, that's a program that operates. They don't always play well, but they kind of operate on the same tenor at all points. So, like, they blow a lot of people out, but if they're surviving an onslaught, like, generally they're able to steady the ship. They don't get blown out except for to Clemson.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, Texas, 5-game losing streak, and you got to go to Morgantown. That's the toughest road trip, geographically speaking, in the Big 12. So we'll see what they're made of on Saturday. Can we talk a little SEC real quick, Roddy? Can we talk a little SEC?
Because the SEC is another one that, like, outside of the top 1, 2, 1 or 2. Did you say 2? I would say outside of the top 1. Like, it's kind of – SEC's kind of been bananas this year.
Oh, it's been wild. It has been wild. I'm not as concerned about – I just want to get your takes on Georgia, Tennessee, okay? Because, listen, I thought, again, just me, just one guy talking, I thought Georgia was going to be in a position this past Saturday where their offense was going to have to play from behind. Now, they didn't play from behind for very long. But they were behind. Okay, they trailed. Yes, they trailed 7-0. Tennessee goes out in the opening drive and puts together, the scripted portion of the playbook, and they're up 7-0, and that place is rocking. And Georgia, to their credit, is like, all right, we're fine. Stetson, go out there and do your thing. Hand the ball off to Zeus. Hand the ball off to that, that stable of tailbacks. Get your boy James Cook involved. And it really, like, it was 24-10 at halftime. Like, it was not outside.
And it did not feel that close.
No, it didn't. It really didn't. I know that we've said this before on the show, and you kind of touched on it earlier because you're an Atlanta native and you're there, you're around it, you hear it. Georgia, this is your chance to win a national championship. You have 100%. Not had a greater chance than right now to cement yourself atop college football. So what happens the next 3 weeks? None of us here have any control over any of that. But this Georgia team is, the depth. I saw that on Saturday because you had guys.
I know what's going to happen the next 2 weeks. You do too.
Well, Charleston Southern, Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia Tech. And then the SEC championship game, though, right? Which I don't think it's not locked in. There's still some scenarios out there because Alabama's got Arkansas and Auburn. But, Georgia, Alabama is going to be the game.
Alabama loses one of those games, and it's Texas A&M. Like,
not anymore. No, A&M's out. They lost to Ole Miss.
Because A&M's out. Yeah.
A&M's out, which is, by the way.
So what is the scenario?
The real Zach Calzada showed up on Saturday.
They lose two now. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
If they lose out, it's Auburn or Ole Miss.
Okay.
They're not going to lose out. They've got Arkansas at home Saturday. and then
Yeah,
they have
you
to
don't-
go
you don't like
to Jordan-Hare. By the way, speaking of Auburn, I know you were busy Saturday. You were working. This is one of the early games, though. So
Hold
we
on,
had
I want
this
to touch
the
on
Blitz.
Georgia real quick. I got to touch on Georgia. You didn't
Auburn
give me
blew a
chance.
28-3 lead. Go ahead. You're
I'm aware.
welcome.
Yep. So who's calling me? So the Georgia thing. We all thought, okay, what if Georgia has to play from behind? What if someone can really force Georgia to? What if they can jump on Georgia early? What's going to happen? And I think what we saw is that what happens is not their offense feels like they have to go out and be explosive, drive the ball down the field. The thing that happened in that first quarter, after Tennessee 10 plays for a touchdown, then a 3-and-out, then 13 plays for a field goal, what happened was not the Georgia offense just keeping pace. It wasn't the Georgia offense going out and looking any differently than they have all year. It was the Georgia defense being like, yeah, no, that's it. Like that, we've had enough. We've had our fill. And it was dominant from there on. After the 13 plays on the field goal, 3 plays and a punt. 3 plays, then an interception. 3 plays and a punt. 5 plays and a punt. End of half. Like, and at that point, it's 24-0, and you feel like Tennessee's playing against 17 dudes on the defensive side of the football. So I don't really want to hear what if Georgia's offense has to play from behind anymore. Like, the onus is on every opposing offense to create enough distance or to score consistently enough where the Georgia offense feels any kind of pressure. Like, it's not whether or not Georgia has to play from behind. It's whether or not anybody else can put pressure on the Georgia offense at all. Because I don't know that that's the case. Like, can you name me an offense that you would feel confident, like, okay, this offense can get to 20 points in a half? Because that's what it's going to take for the Georgia offense to feel any sort of pressure, I think. Because even if they go down, if they were down 14-0 at halftime of a game this year, do you think they would? Like, I don't think that Georgia offense is pressing at all, because they're going to get a pick, they're going to get a fumble, like something. The defense is going to do something to help them out. Then all they have to do is muster one drive.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia had guys banged up on Saturday. There were dudes leaving that game, and you had others just coming in and sacking Hendon Hooker over and over and over again. I mean, the depth is there. Obviously, the skill players are there. The defense is one of the best we've ever seen in modern college football. So, again, I'll just say it. Like, this is your chance. Now,
I don't know that Georgia's ever had a better team. I'm serious. They have not in my lifetime.
Real talk. Like, that's not – now, I think there have been better Georgia offenses. Like, you could argue,
but
like
there have been – yes.
You know, like Stafford and A.J. Green and Noshawn Marino. Like, okay, that's a pretty loaded crop. But the complementary football wasn't there. The coaching wasn't there. The depth wasn't there.
The depth. And that's the thing. Like, the depth of this team, you have 2 running backs. I think Zamir White and especially James Cook, I think they're going to be great pros.
Yeah.
I think most of that offensive line is going to play in the NFL. Stetson Bennett may be the only dude. Like, they probably have 9 guys on that offense that are not going to play in the league in some way, shape, or form. Stetson Bennett's, like, probably number 1 on that list. But on that defense, I don't think there's a single guy on that defense that doesn't play in the league at some point.
Right.
Like, at least make a practice squad. And you probably got, I don't know, 4 first rounders this year. And then who knows how many young guys are going to be first rounders.
Now,
you asked, look at Nakobe Dean, the 2 defensive linemen. You look at
Nakobe Dean. Wow.
Darian Kendrick is probably going to get some first round looks. Now, if he's it would be more a character thing for him. But, like, I think Lewis Seen has played his way probably into a second day pick. Like, I mean, they're ridiculous, man. And that's not even counting the guy who just, you know, I don't want to get into the Adam Anderson thing, but, like, they're doing all this without Adam Anderson too.
Right.
And he probably won't be back this year based on, you know, what you're kind of hearing and reading. Like, he's got other issues. But it's wild, man.
Yeah. No, they are stacked. And so, you know, look, the path has been set. This is a legit number 1 team. They are better than everybody else in college football this year. They are. Doesn't mean they're going to win a national championship, but it does mean that they are expected to. And guys like me who have been talking smack about, like, oh, I think Tennessee's got a chance to hang around. I did say incorrectly that I thought Florida had a chance to hang around in Jacksonville. I'm done. Like, I'm just telling you, I'm done. I'm done with that. this is Georgia's
really
year.
Turning over a lot of new leaves this
Yeah,
year.
I mean, I'm it's exhausting. I can't keep
Evolution.
asking for stuff. At some point, you just have to realize, hey, man, Cincinnati's just not it. Hey, man, like nobody's within 30 points of Georgia this year. Like, let's just move on. Let's just accept it. So, what I think will be interesting, Roddy, you asked if there's a team out there that I think can get 20 on Georgia and a half. I think Ohio State's offense is capable.
That's what I want to see.
Right?
That's what I want to see. But is Ohio State's defense capable of stopping Georgia's offense?
I mean, Ohio State's offense right now is, we talk about like the Oklahomas of the world, and clearly Oklahoma, we talked about it to start the show. They're coming off their worst performance of the Lincoln Riley era. They got a quarterback controversy. Ohio State's offense right now is absolutely cooking. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not paint it as if that's been the case for the last month. Ohio State's offense last week was cooking against Purdue, but against Nebraska and against Penn State, like, I mean, they may have been cooking, but it was a slow roast. It wasn't like they weren't flash frying.
They had the smoker, low and slow.
Right. Low and slow. But for most of the season, like what we saw against Purdue is what we've seen most of the season. So look, I'm with you, man. I want to see Ohio State's offense against that Georgia defense. That is the college football matchup that I am clamoring for this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get a sneak peek at Atlanta, and if you're, again, it's not locked in, but if you're trying to handicap like Georgia, Alabama, like I don't know if I trust Alabama's offense this year to go out and do what we're used to seeing them do.
This is probably a Phil Steele question, but like, what do you think the line would be on that game? Because I think it's Georgia by a touchdown at least.
I don't think you're getting that many points with Alabama. I think it's probably a pick 'em or like a 2 or 3 point spread. But really? I'll ask Phil. I'll ask him. We have him on the show Wednesday. I'll talk to him. I'll be like, hey, Roddy Jones, ACC Network, ESPN. He wants to know. Help him. Arm him.
Just curious.
Arm him with the information, like Phil.
Especially because like Georgia's got a couple of games where like Charleston Southern, like they could play the threes against Charleston Southern and win. No offense to Autry Denson and the Charleston Southern crew.
So are they the Buccaneers? Are they the Bucks?
Believe
Charleston
they are the
Southern?
Buccaneers, yeah. Charleston Southern played in the spring, by the way, and now they're playing a fall season. How Charleston Southern doing this year? But like they're gonna be, that's obviously an easy win against a team that's 4-5 and 5th in the Big South. And then Georgia Tech's got its own struggles. Like Georgia Tech and that could be one where everybody's out at halftime too. So yeah, so you're likely getting a fresh Georgia against Alabama, who's going to go through two, the Arkansas games, whatever. Auburn's going to operate without Bo Nix probably for the rest of the year, but like that, throw the records out. Don't throw the records out because usually the better team wins. But every once in a while, Auburn will beat Alabama.
Auburn gave up 40 unanswered on Saturday.
How about
40?
That? So our sideline reporter Taylor Davis, Auburn grad, big Auburn fan. She's getting text messages all game. Here's a score, here's a score, here's a score. So she comes out. We get done with the game. She comes out, and I go, TD, have you seen, like, how are you doing? She's like, I'm fine. I go, oh, have you seen the score? She goes, yeah, we're blowing them out. I go, have you seen the score in the last 20 minutes? She was like, no. I was like, yeah. She's like, you're joking. We're up 28-3. I'm like, you're not anymore. You're not anymore. It was like 38 to whatever at that point.
Why is it 28-3? Why do all these things happen at 28-3? Like, what is it about the voodoo of that score?
Anyone? I don't know, man.
Server?
I got nothing.
I mean, 28-3.
I'm a champion now, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's a pretty comfortable lead. Auburn was at home, up 28-3 on Mississippi State, and the Bulldogs reeled off 40 straight points at Jordan-Hare. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
I don't even really have like an explanation or analysis or words for what happened over the weekend or what happened in that Auburn game, other than the fact that like this is I don't know, like is this kind of what we've seen from Mississippi State all in one game rolled up, like being like anemic on offense at times and then incredible on offense at times, being great on defense most of the season, and then like I wouldn't consider giving up 28 points at any point in time like terrible, unless it's in a quarter. But like that's just college defenses today. I don't know, man. It sucks for Auburn though.
Yeah, it does.
That's my analysis.
There were jokes about Brian Harsin, and I'm not ready to make those jokes, but that was.
What were the jokes? I didn't hear.
Well, just that he was kind of anti-vax, and now he's kind of anti-math. Like just the whole. I mean, they're just lowbrow jokes, but it's the SEC, so that's what you come to expect. Ole Miss shutting out Texas A&M in the first half, and then going on to beat.
Yeah, how about the Ole Miss defense? Yeah,
dude,
Ole
listen,
Miss defense was all over it.
We had to pick this game in one of the pick'ems that we do. I kind of lose track; it all melts together, but. My thing was give me a banged up Matt Corral against a healthy Zach Calzada 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10. Like Calzada just ain't it, man. Like it's just it.
He was it for one game.
He was an out of body quarterback against Alabama, and ever since then it's just been. I mean, look, it's just not there. So Jimbo Fisher, great play caller, didn't have his best stuff on Saturday night in Oxford. And A&M goes down, and so too does any kind of pipe dream that they will represent the SEC West in
a pipe
Atlanta.
Dream. It was a real dream.
Yeah,
it was a real dream.
It's kind of a pipe dream. Okay. ACC, got to talk about them Deeks, Roddy. Got to talk about them Deeks. Are we officially confirmed for the ACC championship game, or are there still okay?
They can clinch this week with a win over Clemson, or I believe a win next week. So they have to win one.
They have to win.
They have to win one of the last two. No, they have to win one of the last two. Because Clemson needs both school. Clemson needed both NC State and Wake Forest to lose 2 of 3, right?
Well, actually, now I think with the way the 3-way tie is going to work out, if Clemson beats Wake Forest, and then by some, I feel bad a Wake Forest fan just walked past, and then Wake loses to BC, and it's a 3-way 6-2 tie. Where Wake beats NC State and NC State beats Clemson. Clemson gets in based on some record against cross-division opponents, I think is the way.
Now we're talking. Yes.
I don't remember exactly how it works out, but Clemson wins a 3-way tie if they're all 6-2. I'm pretty sure.
Well, okay. I don't know. I
think that's the case. I think that's the case. But if NC State was to lose. Obviously, if Wake was to lose their next two, Clemson was to beat them.
Right. Wake would be NC State losing one more and then Wake losing its last two. So Wake can win the Atlantic by winning one of the next two.
Just got to win one. That's all they got.
Just got to win one. That's all you got to do.
Clemson's going to win the ACC Atlantic. Like you guys know that's going to happen. Like that's what's happening at the end of the season.
After seeing that in person against UConn, Clemson fans. Okay. Clemson fans were roasting me because I was bringing up the fact that obviously DJ wasn't great, wasn't good, was pretty bad, and he looked very hobbled. So I kept going to, hey, like his knee is banged up. Does he give you the best chance right now? Like he looks like he's a statue. He can't move. And they're like, it's not his knee. He's been terrible all year. Stop making excuses for his knee. And look, they're right. They're right, man. It was as bad as Clemson's been on offense all season. They're lucky it was against UConn because UConn is terrible.
What do you think about your boy Luganbill, though? He straight up called out the Clemson staff and said they missed on DJ.
Everybody
because ESPN had DJ ranked significantly lower than 24/7 Rivals, Scout, all like.
That's Georgia Tech on Georgia Tech crime, man.
Star.
Roddy's not taking shots at his guy. That's GT on GT crime, man.
I'm just saying, they had DJ was like a 4-star, maybe the 5th rated quarterback in ESPN's ranking. Everywhere else, he was the number 1 overall quarterback, can't miss, 5-star out of California. And Luganbill was like, well, we ranked him lower at the ESPN because he had these problems, and now you're saying, I don't know.
Interesting. I did not hear him say that. I did not know that. Everybody in the country, I think, would have taken DJ. Like even if he's a high 4-star, like everybody in the country still takes that guy.
Yeah.
So did Clemson miss on him? Yeah, they did. But like, you don't hit 100% all the time.
It's also not over. Like he's only started 11 games in his college career.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen a quarterback be as bad as he's been the last this season as a starter and then come back to be like a guy that you'd be like, yeah, he looks like the number 1 overall player in the country. Yeah. Now, you are right, is not over. The question for Clemson is what happens going forward at the quarterback position, because they got nobody right now.
Cade Klubnik, the number 1 overall quarterback prospect. That's what happens. And then Arch Manning.
You are hoping that Cade Klubnik, you're hoping that dude is the answer, because if he's not, then you're like years behind at the quarterback position.
I would hope he's going to be okay. He's like guiding his 27A Texas high school team out of Austin to the state championship right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that do that don't end up being like great college quarterbacks. But I get what you're saying. I hope
everyone's saying he's number 1 though across the board. So it's like there's no hit the panic button if he decides not to come.
ESPN has him at number 66 as a 4-star. So just throwing that out there. Like you talked about the DJ thing, and also everyone had the kid as a 4-star before the season too. Everyone. No one was talking about him as the number 1 quarterback in the country. Nobody was talking about him as a 5-star. It was everyone had him as a 4-star coming into the year, and like not that that's a bad player, but he has been elevated through his play this season. Maybe that's deserving, maybe not. I'm not recruiting guy. This would be I'll add you another one to the list. Ask Felder. Let's ask Felder. I'll listen to Felder Friday to hear his take on Cade Klubnik and hear what he's talking about. Because if Clemson misses with this one, like it's tough, man. It's going to be real tough. Not to win the ACC, because they are more talented than everybody, and they got a ton of dudes hurt this year. They just lost another one. Like they're probably Justin Ross is in a walking boot by the end of that game.
There were like 5 guys that got hurt in that game. I was just like, can we just make it? Can we make it to an entire game without half the team going down?
The reason DJ stayed in the entire game was because Tyson Pumachan got hurt and could not come back in the game.
Right.
So it's just like it's been a wild injury season. Brian Brzee is out. Like.
We're talking too much about Clemson football. They're a 7-3 mediocre, unranked ACC team.
Like, but you just said they were going to the ACC championship. That's a
lot of mediocre teams in the ACC go to the ACC championship.
It's a good point. Usually not out of the Atlantic, but that's a good point.
Hey,
let's talk about Wake Forest. Wake Forest got a great win over the weekend against NC State. It was a sloppy game. It was a game that Wake Forest, I felt like, if it weren't, Wake Forest tried everything they could to lose that game, in my opinion. Like, you give up that many yards on kickoff returns, and it's like, come on, bro. What are you doing? A.T. Perry dropped about 8,000 balls. I think he was targeted, I'm not kidding, I think he was targeted 25 times in the game and ended up with like 70 yards receiving. Some of those were jump balls, but a lot of them were drops. Anyway, I say all that to say Wake didn't play especially well and still won the football game. It's a really good football team Dave Clawson's got. Pitt too. Pitt won in overtime against Carolina.
Nice dub. I know you were on the call for that game. Nice dub. I do have a theory on Wake's struggles. I'd like to workshop this with the group.
Wake struggling?
Well, they struggled on NC. They struggled against NC State. They didn't have their fastball, right? Like they didn't have their best stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
My theory is Sam Hartman. Not only did he get a haircut and a bad one at that, he shaved the beard. The beard is gone. Roddy, did you see what the haircut was? It was
it's
like
not good. I want to know what it looks like when he's like going out, like when it's done, because it looks like he's going for bad mullet.
So there's nothing on the sides. Like it looks like it looks like a mullet starter kit.
Yeah.
It's like you sat down in the chair and you had something to work with and you were like, you know what? I don't have enough for the flow, but go ahead and give me like the mullet starter kit so I can be ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was there's no sideburns. Like everything from the ear is across is just kind of gone.
Yeah. And he's a good looking dude. Like he could be on The Bachelor one day, and
Well, he's trying to look ugly with that haircut, and he shaved, so he didn't have it. He was missing throws, just like I don't know. It wasn't great. I will say this as a Winston-Salem native, I haven't lived here as long as Cerber. I think you've got me beat in terms of like amount of time I've lived here, but that's the most packed I've ever seen the Hill. Like,
never seen it like that. That's awesome.
Like that was cool. Wake has had multiple sellouts this year at home, and obviously, like I work with Wake fans and alums. I mean, there's some real talk about like what's Dave Clawson going to do with this. You're like, is he going to parlay this into something else? Because you can only take a program like Wake Forest so high, and they're there. I mean, they're going to be top 10 in the playoff this week. Again.
So the Dave Clawson conversation is a good one because now they are investing heavily in the football facilities. They
Sure.
They just got another $20 million gift a couple weeks ago to expand what they're doing. They have great facilities now. But there's always going to be the challenges of being Wake Forest. You're the smallest Power 5 university. You have academic standards that makes it hard to get guys in, and you're not always going to get like 5-star dudes. And not that he needs 5-star, but you're not even getting like 4-star dudes.
Right.
So while I think quality of life wise, Dave Clawson's the type of guy that could take that into account and say, hey, look, I win 10 games at Wake Forest once every 8 years, and they'll build a statue outside of the stadium for me. But if you go somewhere else, does that quality of life change? I don't know. Like, you're always worried because there's a pecking order, a very clear pecking order in college football. And the guys that resist that pecking order when it's your turn to ride the elevator up, the guys that resist that are rare, to be honest with you. And I think you're going to get a lot. Here's the thing, though. Because there's so many jobs open, like, it could be, I think there's a feeling amongst coaches, a lot of coaches across the country, like, this is my time. Look at Tony Elliott at Clemson. Like, I'd be pretty surprised now if this isn't the cycle that Tony Elliott takes a head coaching job. Because, number one, you're staring in the face. If you have 2 straight years of subpar offensive play, like, has that shine worn off? And number two, there's going to be so many great and then second, like, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 jobs open, either because of firings or because of movement. Like, a Tier 2 job comes open because they take a Tier 1 job, all that stuff. That, like, you'll have multiple situations where he may feel comfortable with it. So, like, guys like him, Dave Clawson, Billy Napier, guys across the country that we constantly talk about, feels like this is the cycle for them to move. I mean, hell, Washington's open now. So, like, what happens on the West Coast with that? Now, I'm not saying that any of those guys would consider that, but who knows? If you're Washington, you could do worse than calling Winston-Salem and talking to Dave Clawson.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's news that Serber and I have been sitting on for almost a week now.
Really? You guys knew?
Well, so
bro, you couldn't text the kid?
So
like,
here's
shoot
the
me
thing.
a text and just be like Washington eyes emoji, or a call.
It's privileged information, man. They're gonna know who told.
What? I'm not going to go out and break news, but like I can start to sound smarter on my stuff.
So who are you going to feed that
to?
Who
knows what happens at Washington?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that, Roddy? Like, you're not in the news breaking industry, but you could very easily share that with somebody. I'm shocked that it sat.
I'm not sharing it with anybody.
I'm shocked that
what would happen.
Sat for as long as it did, because we've known about it for literally 7 days.
You send me the Washington eyes emoji, and I send you like the bat signal back, and then you send me like the fist palm emoji, and then I like here's what I do with it. I think about it, and then if it comes up, if like, hey, Washington's on a bye week, what do you think? What I say is, hey, look, Jimmy Lake at Washington, he's got to be under some fire there. Who knows what they decide to do by the end of the season? Boom, he gets fired next week. I look great, and they're like, Roddy, promotion.
I didn't know you talked about football west of the Mississippi, bro. I didn't know anybody even asked you about that. Yeah.
I mean, like every once in a while. Had it been this week, we would have talked about it because Oregon has a game against somebody. We talked about it a little bit last week,
I still think
Kellerman may ask.
I maintain that because we talked about this 2 years ago when Chris Peterson left. Now I know that there was a plan in place and Lake was the guy. He was the chosen one, but I still maintain that's a very good job in Seattle. Like,
yeah.
Is it a college town? They think it is. It's not. Okay, but you can win. You can win at Washington, and you can win quickly.
Absolutely.
You
Chris
can win
Peterson
quickly.
did it. Like they've done it. You've had a number of coaches win at Washington. So I don't know what the level of that job is. I really don't. And the reason why is I don't know geographically like how it's going to shake out from a keeping recruits in Washington standpoint, or even the plethora of recruits in the Pacific Northwest. Like obviously that's sort of Wayne's stomping grounds. But people have won at Washington before. Now, they are a long way from being what they were, which was competing with Oregon, 5 years ago? Like, Oregon has distanced themselves from everybody else west of the Mississippi. Is that true? Everybody else west of the Mississippi? I guess other than Oklahoma. They're west of the Mississippi.
Oh, Oklahoma's significantly west of the Mississippi, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Oregon is in a great spot today. The rankings are going to come out later tonight. Oregon's still going to be sitting there at 3. I've said this before. I don't feel great about the remaining schedule for the Ducks. Saturday in Salt Lake City is going to be a problem. Whatever they're calling what used to be the Civil War game, I need to look this up. I need to quit.
They're not calling it anything. We did this last week.
It's just a rivalry
an in-state rivalry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel great about that either. Oregon State with Jonathan Smith and dem boys, Roddy, dem boys.
Not them boys.
Yeah, dude.
Boys.
Oregon State's going to be a problem. Those guys run the football really well. Oregon can't stop the run. Look, yeah. I mean, Washington State hung around for a half. So
Washington State's been playing decent, but no, your point is well taken.
You have an Apple Cup coming up in 2 weeks with 2 interim head coaches, by the way. Just putting that out there.
One of them we saw coming. The other one we probably should have seen coming.
I mean,
did Jimmy Lake handle anything well? Like, did he handle anything in his brief tenure well at Washington? And look, I don't know Jimmy Lake. I wish him the best going forward. It was a precipitous downfall because he was thought to be one of the rising star head coaches or assistant coaches when he was a defensive coordinator there. So it's pretty brutal. But like when you literally botch everything, and I've said this over and over, I hate it when coaches are always talk about, hey, our players need to be disciplined and you need to keep your head and keep your cool and all that. And then when you're one of your players, who by the way is like under 21, and they're actually going out and fighting people physically. When one of your players gets into a scrap, you feel like you need to run over there and, quote, unquote, I separated him. Like you took a swipe at the dude's face and pushed him in the back. Is it bad? No. But, like, you're a head coach of a college football program. You shouldn't be acting like a petulant teenager. Like, and that's where the get-back coaches bother me. You're a grown man and you can't police yourself to stay off the field?
Right.
How the hell, and then you're going to go and ask your players to keep their cool when someone punches them in the nuts on the way to the sideline? Like, you can't even keep yourself off the field, bro.
It's fair.
Because of your passion. Like, you're a grown man. Stay off the field.
Grown-ass man.
Bright white line.
Cue the jokes about Jimmy Lake heading to Tuscaloosa to be a defensive analyst. Like, it's just too easy.
Does Saban take them from west of the Mississippi?
You'd have to. I was going to say Sark, but he wasn't from like that. He was. Did he
He'd
go?
Been out of it for a second. Like I think he had been out, or was that no? He came from the Atlanta Falcons. He wasn't an analyst. He came from the Falcons. He was a Falcons offensive coordinator, and then he went to
right.
He was at Washington and USC before.
Yeah,
that.
but he didn't. He came from Atlanta though, so he didn't take him from west of the Mississippi.
Still, Jimmy Lake's going to be on staff in T-Town.
No.
Yes.
No.
He'll be on staff somewhere. I mean, I would think. It's a crazy downfall because it was so. You said it, Roddy. It was precipitous. It was so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, last year Washington technically won the Pac-12 North, and then they got COVID and they couldn't play, so they were like, "Hey, we're not going to be able to go. So Oregon, y'all should go for us." But
yeah, and Oregon won that thing.
They only played 4 games last year, and then this year he's gone before the Apple Cup. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it'll be the answer to a trivia question in a couple of years for sure.
Yeah, who had the shorter tenure, Jimmy Lake or Willie Taggart? And the answer is Jimmy Lake.
That's amazing.
That's shocking.
Speaking of, by the way, Florida State, Miami. I got to get your thoughts on that, man. Did that do anything for you?
Absolutely.
That?
Yeah. Look.
It's a big win for Florida State, all things considered.
It's a massive win for Florida State. And they deserve to win. They outplayed Miami for more of that game than Miami outplayed Florida State.
Yeah.
I have Miami this week, and the feeling – here's like we're going to take this to a state of Florida thing. Which program do you feel best about right now in the state of Florida?
It's amazing that's a great question because the answer is Florida State.
Absolutely,
and that's not where I was. That's the opposite of where I was in September. So,
and the other thing, like again, like we don't typically talk recruiting on Mondays, but all of the recruiting momentum is with Florida State, like drastically, like heavily for this 22 class. They are leaps and bounds ahead of both Miami and Florida, which is like a shocking thing. So, look. I think it. I have Florida State this week, as I said. Florida State is they're a team that I think has overachieved this year. They've somewhat steadied the ship. And when you talk about, like, that is a super fertile recruiting state. And when you look at the recruits in the state of Florida, did you guys run through this the other day?
No.
With Felder?
No, but go for it.
I heard it somewhere.
I'm fascinated by it.
So let's look at the recruits just in the state of Florida. It's going to take me a second to pull it up. But, okay, recruiting, state of Florida. All right, this is Port 247, okay? Number 1 player is uncommitted. He's a Texas A&M lean. Number 2 player is going to Oklahoma. Number 3 player is is a lean to Georgia. Number 4 player is a strong lean to Georgia. Number 5 player, Florida State. Number 6 player, Clemson. Number 7 player is uncommitted. Number 8 player, Georgia. Number 9 player, Alabama. Number 10, Ohio State. 11, Clemson. 12, Clemson. 13, uncommitted. 14, Oklahoma lean. 15, Alabama. 16, Alabama lean. 17, Florida State. 18, Florida State lean. 19, Penn State commitment. 20, Florida. You have to get to the 20th player in Florida before either Miami or Florida has one of those guys.
They generally close late, though, Roddy. I mean, in Gainesville, they like to close late. I'm just saying.
I mean, you can close late, but, like, none of those guys per 247 are even leaning Florida. None of the uncommitted guys are even leaning towards Florida. So,
yeah,
look, man,
it's
for both Miami and Florida.
It's
I think
bad.
it's tough. And Manny Diaz had a great recruiting class last year. The fan base is very discontent right now. And if you look at the decisions made late in that game, I think it's fair. Like, Manny Diaz is a defensive coordinator. They punt the ball away in the first play. Florida State gets 59 yards to get down in range. And they're down 5 at this point, okay? So Florida State gets in range. It's 4th and 14. Florida State gets down to the 1-yard line. And let me ask you a question. So do you remember the scenario I'm talking about? Because if not, I'll refresh you.
No, you're talking about Miami, Florida State. I wasn't watching. I wasn't watching that game as it played out late. No.
So Florida State is 4th and 14 from like the 20-something yard line. They convert, get down to the 1-yard line. Florida State is on the 1-yard line, down by 5 points, with 58 seconds left on the clock, and Miami has 2 timeouts. So Florida State's on offense, 1-yard line, 58 seconds left. Miami has 2 timeouts. Miami waits a little bit and then calls a timeout. And at that point, I'm thinking, Manny Diaz absolutely has to let them score. You have to let them score, because if you don't and you stop them, you are taking any chance that you have away from your team of winning the game if they eventually do get in the end zone. So in this day and age in college football, let them score. And yes, you may be giving them a victory, but your only chance, your best chance, in my opinion, is to let them score, turn around and say, offense, you got 58 seconds, 2 timeouts, go win us the game. 50 seconds, 2 timeouts, go win us the football game. Like, that, in my opinion, is what you have to do. Actually, they probably had 1 timeout because you got to bang a timeout before that. So, I don't know, man. I thought that was a coaching decision that was questionable, because asking your defense – Florida State's going to get 4 plays from the 1-yard line, and you're asking your defense to stand up. And, yes, crazy things happen, but, like, what's the likelihood? What's the % chance that you hold them out? Like, I don't know, man. So it was Miami was down 17-0, I think, in that game. It was a tough loss, obviously, to an in-state opponent. It seems like all the momentum is on the side of the Seminoles right now. Just as a program, it's not good.
No, and things are in a really bad place in Gainesville with Florida. Yes, they beat Samford, but that was an embarrassing score and an embarrassing situation for the first 3 quarters.
Who won?
Right.
Because they beat Samford and they celebrated like they beat Alabama. But who really wins there?
Well, nobody wins, really, unless you're holding a position that, you're an anti-Mullen guy or an anti-Florida guy, because it's turned into a bit of a punchline down there. It absolutely has, for sure. All right, we need to do some Rod Stradamus before we get out of here. I don't want to take the platform away from you, Roddy, if there's anything else from Week 11 that you wanted to touch on before we get to some picks.
Let's see. Let's take a quick look. I would like to congratulate Wayne on a big win over the weekend. I would like to do that.
Bro,
I've been riding with UCLA.
They did not look good at halftime.
Big win. It's a big win. It's a big win. I have a question. Is Notre Dame out of this thing?
They've lost head-to-head to Cincinnati, so they should be.
Right. Okay. But Cincinnati's got SMU this week, and please tell me that Cincinnati's going to beat SMU twice, or SMU and Houston. So,
who's Notre Dame's best win?
Should we be talking about Purdue and Wisconsin? Those wins have been looking increasingly better since they beat those teams. They beat both of them.
Really?
What?
Yeah, he has a good point. And
Who?
Wisconsin was ranked when
it
Notre
doesn't
Dame
matter.
beat them.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they were ranked when they beat. The metric is wins over CFP top 25 teams. It doesn't say top 25 teams at the time because there was no CFP top 25. A win over Wisconsin and a win over Purdue. Those are wins that the committee would look favorably upon. Now, Purdue just took that ass whooping over the weekend, so we'll see what happens to them in the poll. Do they completely drop out? Does the committee just go, "Oh, you got your ass kicked by Ohio State a week after you beat Michigan State, so you're out of here"? Who knows with this committee? I don't know, honestly.
The problem is that they have Georgia Tech and Stanford down the stretch, and neither one of those is going to move the meter.
I'm not saying that they're moving up because of what they do.
Yeah.
But look at what's in front of them. Okay? Mm-hmm. Georgia and Alabama have to play each other. And the way things are looking right now, Georgia wins that. You just said you don't like the rest of Oregon the rest of the way. Ohio State, I think Ohio State takes care of business. Cincinnati, you can talk to me all about how Cincinnati needs to be in the top 4. They got SMU and they got Houston. They got SMU and they got Houston. But look, if it's between Notre Dame and Cincinnati, Cincinnati needs to go. But they got SMU and they got Houston down the stretch here, or SMU twice. But I think I don't know what the scenario is. I think they'll get SMU and Houston. Michigan still has to play Ohio State. Michigan State still has to play Ohio State. Oklahoma already took an L. That's all that's in front of them. The door is wide open for a one-loss Notre Dame team to be sitting there around 5 or 6 going into championship weekend and being like, we just need one, fellas.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's possible. They're not.
And who behind them is going to jump them?
Right.
That's the thing. Texas A&M just lost. Oklahoma State, Wake, the Deeks.
Wake is God. I can't. I mean, that UNC meltdown is feeling worse.
No, Wake is worried about the ACC championship game.
I understand. But look, with what happened this past Saturday, had Wake not blown that big lead in Chapel Hill, that it would be interesting. I think you'd have Wake sitting there at 6.
Notre Dame is going to win out, and they're going to be sitting there going into the they will jump Michigan and Michigan State, and they'll be sitting there behind Cincinnati saying, "All right, Georgia beats Alabama." Oregon slips up. They got 2 shots to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we're in there. Like swimwear.
You sound like my kid. He's Julian's asking when we're going back to the pool. And I'm like, buddy, it's 37 degrees outside. We're not going to the pool for 9 months. So, sorry. Not sorry.
Yeah.
You have to build the kid a yurt with a pool in it or something.
He doesn't even he likes the pool, but he can't even swim yet, man. He's
We're about to do swim lessons with the girls.
Bro, good luck with that. Are you getting in the water, or is wifey getting in, or are you just dropping them off?
I think they're of the age where they get in the water themselves. It's not like they're 2.
No. But there's are you the instructor with them, or you're just letting the instructor do their thing?
No.
Good luck, man.
Have you seen the prices of swim lessons in this area? Oh my gosh.
Bro, I don't know how you afford anything in that city, because things in Winston-Salem are starting to get spicy, and I know it's nothing compared to the A-Town.
That's ridiculous.
He's got that Disney bag, dog.
Yeah.
He's all right.
Jason, bro, I want you to come look in this bag, and you'll see cobwebs and cockroaches. That's it.
Rod Stradamus, to wrap up the show.
All right.
We mentioned it
He's
earlier.
been stalling. I've got one. I'm ready to give you a lock right now.
Oh, Serb Stradamus making an appearance here as well. Well, let me get
I'm
my
back.
lines. Let me get my lines.
Oh,
I got one on the
Serb
money
Stradamus
line. I don't need a spread or
man.
anything.
Oh, shit. Talking
Well,
Deeks are coming to Death Valley to lose again. Tigers. Lock.
Wow.
DJ's going to throw 3 touchdown passes for the first time all year.
Hold up.
What?
Yeah. Bo Collins, Dakari Collins, the chemistry is real.
I like that this is a noon game. I like the early winners. Clemson's a 3.5-point favorite against Wake.
Wake ain't won in Clemson since 1998.
Wow.
Sounds like they're due.
Bro,
It could
have
be
you
due.
Did you see DJ limping around? Now the
Sure
thing
did.
is, can Wake Forest stop the run is a big question. UConn did it, and that was without Kobe Pace and Will Shipley. But like Will Shipley, you're not waving a Will Shipley wand to solve those running issues. Wow, that's
That's my pick for the
wild,
week.
man.
Lock it in.
Lock.
Why don't you make some?
Okay.
Why don't you pick one?
All right, I'll pick some.
Just
He gonna do one. He gonna do one.
Hang on. Just to let our listeners know, again, because there might be people listening to this for the first time. We've grown a lot over the last several months. Roddy is coming off of a 5-1 week, his best week since week 0 when he went 2-0. So that snaps a pretty rough period in Rod Stradamus' life. So 5-1 last week.
The worst period of my life. The worst period of my life.
Still sub 500 on the season. I do
But
want to
barely.
mention that. No, I just, again, 32 wins, 34 losses, 1 push. So
Which
coming
was
off of a nice
ridiculous.
week,
Oh,
but still
freaking
sub
push.
500 for the year. So we
Ridiculous.
erased the slate from last week. Oklahoma, the only thing that kept you from a perfect 6-0, week
Yeah.
11.
Honestly,
So I got
thought
my
about going
lines
back to
here. So you
Oklahoma
just tell me
this
where you want to go, Roddy, and I'll give you some numbers.
All right. So first off, let's go. We don't shy away from the big ones here at Rod Stradamus. Let's go
You actually
to
do,
Nippert
but
Stadium.
that's okay.
Yeah, I usually do. Let's go to Nippert Stadium.
Okay.
What's the line there? Give me the line.
You have SMU, or as Phil Steele likes to call them, SMU. SMU at Cincinnati. Bearcats favored by 12 at home.
Give me the Stangs. Wow. SMU minus 12, baby. Mark it down.
Plus 12.
Mark the tape.
Plus
I'm
12.
sorry. SMU plus 12, baby. Mark the tape. Mark it.
3:30 kick for SMU and Cincy. All right, I love it.
Love it.
Where else?
Look, I'm going to go Wake minus 3.5 at Clemson.
Wow, going head-to-head with Serb Stradamus.
Yep.
Bring it.
We had one of these battles earlier this year. Here's the thing, man. Like, do I think Wake is going to put up 40 points? No, I don't. But the way college football is, I think they put up 30.
Wow.
Neat. Cool. That's fine.
Clemson-
do what they do.
Clemson-
Clemson's coming to play this weekend. We
Clemson-
got like 32 scholarship players who are healthy. We're good to go. Tigers are going to
Clemson
win straight up.
Clemson's incredibly banged up. Both Collinses have a little case of the dropsies.
I don't care.
They
Corrected this
turned
week.
they turned like 3 guys loose in the secondary against UConn.
Just to clarify, Serber, you're taking Clemson to cover the spread or just to win?
Nope.
No,
I'm taking them on the money line to win the game.
Well, that's not what we do here, man. It's fine. They're favored.
Oh, they're favored?
Yeah, Clemson is favored in this game.
All right, whatever. I don't. Then I take them
No,
to
I don't
cover
think
the
Clemson's
spread.
favored.
Whatever.
Are they?
Clemson is favored against Wake Forest by 3.5 points.
All right. Well, I'm
Oh,
taking
you're
the
right.
favorite.
Oh, hell yeah! I get 3.5.
I'm loading
points.
up on the
Come
home
up.
favorite.
Give me Wake plus 3.5. I thought they were. I thought they were favored.
Man,
Road
Dog,
dog.
give me
Road
that.
dog ranked.
Road dog.
Not happening.
Road
Coming
dog.
off a big ranked matchup.
Road
but
dog.
I just
Phil
want
has taught me.
to make sure I'm getting this right. You're not worried about the spread, Serber. You just think Clemson wins.
Yeah, but
Not-
if it needs to be the spread to make more sense, I don't care. Like whatever. I'm not a degenerate bettor like you are. I'm telling you, Clemson's going to win the football game by 7 points. How's that?
Okay, so that helps. So you've got Clemson covering the spread against Wake Forest. Roddy's taking the points. Okay, I just want to make sure this is right because I like to keep track of this stuff, all right? That's all. That's all. It's a noon game, by the way, in Death Valley. I like Wake's chances. It's a noon game. If that was a night game, I don't know. I'd be shying away from
spicy.
it. I'd be shying away from
Why do you like their chances in a noon game?
I just think less of a I think the atmosphere is more challenging at night.
That's fair.
In that building
Clemson,
than it is at
Clemson
noon.
is one of those places that everyone will be. Those butts will be in their seats at noon.
They were there for the UConn game, man. I give them credit.
Damn right they were.
Yeah, they were there.
Them dudes show up.
And gals.
Oh yeah, the gals show up too. Yep. All right, what's my next one? Oh, give me Kansas State in a pick'em against Baylor.
Why is that game a pick'em? I mean, I know it's in the Little Apple, and one does not simply, stroll into Manhattan, Kansas, but
probably because Baylor's coming off the biggest win in their program's history.
That seems off to me. You like Kansas State at home?
It's not the biggest in the program's history, but
don't love that pick, Roddy. Not gonna lie. Don't love that pick.
Great pick, phenomenal pick.
I mean, we just went through the whole Phil Steele coming off a big win, blah 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 blah. This is it.
Yep.
Can Baylor handle success? They now have the fate, their Big 12 championship fate in their own hands. And plus, Steven, what about this year makes you think anything's going to be easy?
Kansas State's coming off a win too, so.
But not a big win, not a massive win.
They beat West Virginia. Nice
it's a win.
Yeah.
It's a regular win.
Sub 500.
Regular win.
Win is a win. Win is a win.
Let's compare the wins.
I think Aranda will have his guys ready for that one. I do.
You can think that all you want.
I do. I do think that. I like Chris Kleiman too, though. I mean, Chris Kleiman.
You know what we thought? We thought Jeff Brom would have his guys ready for that game too. You know what they got? That ass whooping.
Nobody thought Jeff Brom's Purdue team was going to give Ohio State
back to West
game.
Lafayette.
Don't put words in my mouth. Nobody thought that.
I'm not saying you did. Oh, what do you mean nobody thought? All I heard all week, what does Ohio State have to do to not get upset just like Michigan State?
Show up.
Show up.
The answer was show
That's
up.
it.
Yeah.
Get there. Get to the stadium.
Literally.
The correct stadium.
Just make sure that you're lined up properly. That's all that you need.
I have a quick note. Is there anyone else in the country that spells Gary the way Gary Bohannon does? I find that suspicious.
It's very confusing.
It took me a while to realize who he was.
Yep.
I candidly, I do some work for the Baylor Sports Network. Get pregame sound. I'm like, who is Jerry? Who is Jerry Bohannon? I'm like, oh, it's Gary? Why does he spell it like that?
That's how you know what though?
It's
that's
sus.
That's how the listener, Serber, knows that you're a Baylor insider because you know how to pronounce the Baylor quarterback's name correctly. Because some people just see it on a sheet and they're like, oh, check out Jerry over here.
What's up, Jerry?
Nah. By the way, speaking of the Baylor Radio Network, John Morris was going to be on the show, voice of the Bears. Can't. Why?
They're playing basketball in 15 minutes from right now on a Monday morning.
I don't. I think it's the game.
I have a theory.
The kids take lunch break, kids
it's
elementary schools, and they just show up. I don't know.
I don't think it's just that. Baylor basketball in Waco is a big deal.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a brand.
Sure.
Baylor in and of itself is kind of a small school, smaller alumni base.
But Chip and
it's
Joanna
probably
James.
tough. It's probably tough to get into that. It's probably tough to get into that game.
III.
A lot of T-shirt fans that come for the primetime Baylor basketball games, they put it at a time when those people couldn't come so that only so the students could pack it out. I think that's what it's for. I think it's 100% give the students something fun to do on a Monday morning / afternoon. They canceled classes. Everyone can get in. There's probably no queuing up for tickets because, half the game's sold already to dudes who never went to Baylor. That's my theory. I think that's why they're doing it. And because they're not the only ones. Other schools do this, particularly in the Big 12. I remember Kansas had done this in the past. And it's usually schools with massive basketball followings who probably can't get everybody in who's a student for most games. And then, yes, to bring the elementary school kids in, there's probably a field trip promo going on. All I know is I got here at 8:30 a.m. to do Baylor basketball.
Yeah. And J-Mo was like, I'd be on the show. I'd love to be on the podcast, but we have a hoops game. And I'm like,
we could have taped it at 10.
No, we
couldn't.
can't. And you know why we can't tape it at 10, Roddy? Because of
Yeah,
your
why can't we
production
do that?
meetings.
There
Because
we
we've
go,
had
there
to
we go.
accommodate
Shit,
your
that's a good
schedule, Hot Rod.
That's a good point.
All right, back to the picks.
Yeah, does he have picks?
Picks.
Stalling.
You are
I'm
stalling.
not stalling.
You are
Just-
stalling.
I
Oh, by the way,
interrupted, honestly.
breaking
Betting.
news. I will allow you to stall for 30 more seconds. Breaking news just came out.
Betting.
Clean old-fashioned hate. Noon kickoff. Nooner.
That sucks.
That's
the
on
week
the
of
flats?
Thanksgiving. That's on the flats. Doesn't matter.
Man.
It'll be 90%.
We're just going to be sleepy.
Rawr, rawr. Rawr.
Yeah. Okay.
Rawr.
At least we get it out early in the day. Like I don't have to wait around the entire day.
What's
And
the-
honestly, if we win, I'll have a great day.
Roddy.
Great day.
Roddy.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
What?
Friends don't let friends think Georgia's going to lose a game this year. That just don't. Don't do that.
Okay. You're right. I shouldn't do that.
What about Palm?
Okay.
They give you got time on that Palmetto Bowl. I don't
Oh
really care
my
about
gosh,
Georgia,
man!
Georgia Tech.
I'm
That's-
looking at the release.
That is out, actually.
Nooner
yeah.
on ABC. Florida State, Florida is a nooner on ESPN. God,
Yikes.
what an awful slate of games.
Palmetto
Actually,
Bowl,
that should be a good game
7:30, night game.
Let's go.
on SEC Network.
I might go to that
Can't wait till
game.
they just
I looked
bash
at
Clemson.
ticket. I
They are
looked at
going to
ticket
bash
prices.
Jordan Rogers, Tom Hart, and Cole Kubelik. They're gonna bash Clemson so hard.
Hartzell, can I go to the Clemson South Carolina game next Saturday?
What do you
I'll like
need
leave.
my-
Work, I'll work
again.
till like 3:30, and
What
then
do
I will leave.
What do you need my permission for? Yes, please go. Have a
I
great
think I'm
time.
gonna go. This is like the cheapest tickets are going to be to that game. I can get tickets for like $50
Fitty.
in the upper deck.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Cerbert, please, by all means, go. Have a great time.
All right, I think I'm going to. I
Good.
You
think I'm going to go with Dad.
Ridiculous.
Have fun. I mean,
We'll
you don't
have like a Rudy moment.
it's not a work trip. You don't get
It's
to
a
like
Willie Bryce. It won't be a Rudy
claim
moment.
mileage or anything, but yeah, have a great time.
I just don't
On a
want to
work
do
trip.
work that day.
South Carolina might hang around in that one, bro. Just be careful.
This is their best chance to win it.
South
You know,
Carolina's got a
in
good
some
defensive
time.
line and can run the ball. So
Yep.
yeah, they got a really solid chance to win that game. Very solid chance.
Back to the picks, please.
All right, what was the last one I gave?
You have given
Kansas
us
State in a pick'em.
SMU plus 12, Wake plus 3.5, and K-State
Wake.
in a pick'em against Baylor.
All right, here's my next one. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Coming off the top.
I've been
rope.
ready for literally like 20 minutes, so please.
Well, Serber's been interrupting.
You're
so
still stalling.
sorry. I'm not stalling. I'm vetting. Give me Nebraska plus 10 at Wisconsin.
Oh, my God.
What are you doing?
Of all the
Nebraska
games
does
on the
is play
board,
close games.
all the games on the board, that's where you want to go?
All Nebraska does is play close games.
You have no one to
They've got
blame
a-
for this but yourself, Roddy.
They've
When
got
this
a good
happens to you,
defense. When's the last time Nebraska got blown out, guys? Don't worry, I'll wait.
I mean, he's.
They just played Ohio State close. They had a bye week to get ready for Wisconsin.
you're not-
They're going to Camp Randall, but tell me why that's a bad pick. Please do. Oh, Nebraska
Scott
stinks.
Frost.
3-7. Scott Frost, terrible. Okay, let's look at Ohio State. They lost that game by what?
It's
9.
just, this isn't your
Let's look
comfort
at-
zone, man. Like, you're a Sun
What do you
Belt
mean?
guy, ACC guy, like Conference USA
Purdue,
guy.
5-point loss. Minnesota, 7-point loss. Michigan, 3-point loss. Michigan
This is
State,
reckless.
3-point loss. Oklahoma, 7-point loss. Like, they played this caliber team. Yeah, they've lost, but they've kept it close. Give me Nebraska plus 10.
All right. I got
You
it
know
down.
what?
I got it down.
You almost made me earn the E there because you got this isn't your comfort zone. I'm well within my comfort zone. I have seeneth the future.
Hartzell, I want to go to lunch, man. Come
I
on.
seen it.
Let's get the rest of them out of him. Come on. Let's go. What else you got?
Pitt minus 13.5 against Virginia.
It's a good pick.
It's a big number. But Brendan Armstrong's banged up. Did you see him throwing the ball against Notre Dame before the game? Ooh, them
He didn't
ribs
play
look
against
tender.
Notre Dame.
Right, but if you watch the game, they showed him throwing the ball before the game, and them ribs look tender. Tender.
Just get the shot, kid.
Get the shot, kid. Give me Iowa plus 12 against Illinois.
Minus 12.
Sorry, minus 12. My bad. I wrote it down wrong. Minus 12.
It's a big mistake. So just
I know. There's
Clean-
a lot of chicken scratch on here.
clean it up.
Actually, and I have a question. That's 6, but I might substitute this one in there because why is Arizona State favored in Corvallis?
It's a great question. No respect for the Beavs. That's the answer. You know how many games Oregon State's lost at home this year?
0.
That's right. 0. But
like
instead,
Oregon
you want to
State.
take Nebraska plus 10.
I like Oregon State minus 1.5. I do. But I got to substitute one out for that.
Why don't you just give us a 7-pack, man? It's the holidays.
Hell yeah, let's go. I'm bringing an extra beer to this one. Give me Oregon State plus 7.5.
Hang on.
I'm feeling that
It's
one.
not 7.5.
I'm sorry, plus 2.5. Sorry, I can't read my writing. Plus 2.5.
He works in
seeing if you're awake.
broadcasting, folks.
Just seeing if you're awake.
I'm awake. I'm wide awake. I've never been more awake. By the way, I lost out on a pair of Jordan 11 Cool Grays shock drop during this episode today, so I hope you guys are happy. Hope you're happy.
I'm not.
What was starting to look like a better day than where it started with that news, just like one step forward, 3 steps back. So
Don't worry. You've only got like 4 meetings ahead of you for the rest of the day.
I hate Mondays in November. I just despise them. I really do. All right, so there you go. That is Rod Stradamus. Where will you be at this week on the TV networks, my man?
Thursday we got Louisville at Duke. And Friday and Saturday we got Virginia.
Is that a basketball game or a football game?
Louisville lost to Furman over the last week in basketball, so I hope to God it's neither.
Is Louisville
that
favored by?
Game would be an ass whooping.
Is Louisville favored by 70 against Duke in football
19.
Thursday? 19.5.
I can't put that on Rodstra because
it's not enough.
Because I'm calling the game. You damn right it ain't enough.
It's not enough.
Look at the number of points Duke has scored the last 3 weeks.
Oh, I know.
No, Gunnar Holmberg didn't play last week, but
I know. It's been a bit. It's yeah, I know. All right, so you've got Thursday Louisville at Duke. What about Saturday ACC Network?
Virginia Tech at Miami. Primetime. 7:30.
Ooh, the hot seat bowl.
The hot seat bowl. There it is.
That's what it is. If I said over under 1.5 of those coaches back next year.
Back next year?
Yeah.
The over-under is half or 1.5?
Half. 0.5.
I'll take the over.
No. They're both gone.
You think so?
I know so.
Here's the oh yeah, you see now if you get this news and I don't get the bat signal, our friendship's over. I'm serious.
Roddy, I would give you ACC news if I had it. You know that. I'd take care of you there. But I don't have it. There's no chance VT can bring Fuente back. I don't know the financials with Miami. It's a private school. Who knows?
The thing with Miami that needs to be solved is if you make the coaching change now, and I'm not advocating here one way or the other, but if you make the coaching change now, Blake James has to be the one to hire the coach, and the discontent amongst the fan base is spread equally amongst both of them. And you are too late in the cycle to fire an AD, hire an AD, and then hire a football coach. It's too late in the cycle to do that. Not to say they can't do it for the right guy, but you're sabotaging any type of recruiting that you would like to have. So
that's fair. That's fair. Roddy, way to bring it, as always, my man. Hard to believe we're coming up on week 12, right? Like, the season is wild. It's getting close to wrapping up. It's almost sad. Almost sad.
Almost.
It's been a grind for sure. All right,
but
boys.
Honestly, it's been a fun season. It's been wild. Look, we're in for a hell of a finish, man.
Next week will be Thanksgiving week. Does that change anything? Do we need to huddle up on schedules offline?
Nah.
Okay. Wrap it up, Pete. Wrap it up.
All right, Cerber's got lunch he's got to go to. We will wrap this up because Cerber and I are in the office. We're punching the clock.
I probably missed lunch. So everybody, I'm pretty
sure.
No.
Go ahead. I'll let you. We'll wrap it up. For Roddy, for Cerber, I'm Hartzell. Check us out on Twitter @CSNowTweets. So long.